following the event that you've heard many people talk about from this summer. Ms. Keys.
Yes. Wow. What a beautiful, incredible room to be in. I'm so honored to be in this room. Miss Barbara Lee, you're just fiery. I just love that. Every time I sit with you, I'm just like, and I learn so much. So thank you so much for just being so incredible. And everybody for being here. My friend, Miss Jared, really, thank you so much for your support. The Kaiser Family Foundation for hosting. Drew, you're funny. Like, man, he's funny. So really, and to everybody in this room, really, thank you so much for being here. It means so much that you're able to take some time and join us today because we're each, part of such a movement, and it feels so good to be a part of this movement. So the issue we're discussing here today is one that strikes a very personal chord for me. And I first became involved in HIV/AIDS in about 2001 after a visit to a clinic in Africa. And I really had an incredible experience there, and it opened my mind and it opened my heart to the AIDS pandemic, and it set me on a path for fighting the AIDS pandemic. Following that visit, I co-founded an organization called Keep a Child Alive, and it's an organization that I continue to partner with today, and it's my passion and my heart. It's something that really keeps me very grounded and connected to the cause and the issue and what's going on. And what's striking to me the most, I think, when we talk about all of this together is, despite so many differences, is how many similarities unite us in this global fight to end HIV. That knowledge is the best way to overcome ignorance and fear. And that courage is the best way to overcome stigma and shame. And like stigma, I think one of the things I've just been thinking about so much lately is just getting over being homophobic. Like, we have to just move on, you know what I mean? Everyone is a beautiful human being with the right to choose who they love. And that's it, you know what I mean? And we have to respect that, because if we allow people to be who they are, then people can be prideful, and we don't have to have all this hiding and worry about, people not loving you for just being who you are. It's not fair. And so that, in regards to stigma, and shame, it has to, like, we are in the future now. We must arrive to the future. So, let's be okay. Let's talk about these things, and let's encourage people that we know to talk about it. I pressed a button. I pressed it again, it's back. So that empowerment is the best way to overcome complacency, and I think another thing we've been talking about so much is loving ourselves enough to take care of ourselves, and knowing that, teaching our children to know their self-worth and honor their bodies, and know that, we have to be the ones that tell somebody, look, I'm not comfortable. And it's hard sometimes, there's a lot of pressure, and it's, especially being young, being old, it's a lot of pressure. You don't want to be the one that's saying no, you want to make people feel good, but no, we have to be the ones that know that we are strong enough to say, I honor myself, I honor my life, I honor who I am, and this is how I feel. So I think we have to also teach that and show that a lot, because it's difficult. Not all of us have that guidance in our lives. So, and definitely that we as women are the backbone of families and communities. Now that, for sure, is equal wherever I go. That is what I see. And it's a beautiful thing to celebrate. That's just what we do. That's how we are. And we're amazing. That's why we love our mamas. So, thank you. So we will never see an AIDS-free generation without harnessing the power and strength of women. So the Empowered campaign that I'm so proud of, it builds on my advocacy work with Keep a Child Alive and my battle cry to put women first. Over the past 10 years, I've absolutely witnessed an incredible resilience and strength and spirit among those I've encountered, and most especially so much in the women I've had the privilege of meeting. So that's everyone in this room. These are my beautiful friends here, my sister and Erica Rose. There's my grandmother, my nana. I mean, these women in my life are really, my inspirations and my beacons of light. Women and girls have been infected by HIV since the start, but that impact has not been recognized. And as sisters, mothers, daughters, and caregivers, we are the backbones of families and communities and entire societies. I think that most people would be shocked to know that more than 1.1 million Americans living with HIV, 1 in 4 is a woman, I mean, I don't know if people really understand that really at this point. I'm not sure that that's really communicated well. I mean, I'm not seeing HIV in the headlines. I'm not hearing conversations about AIDS. It's kind of like a lot of us would probably think, I think it's okay in America, right? So I think that it's really important that we're starting to talk about this and realizing that this is not the case. And worse yet, Black women have been disproportionately, that is a word for you. And it should be a hard word because it's a big word and it's a bad thing. To be disproportionately affected, accounting for a majority of the new infections among women. I mean, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's not acceptable. Like, we have to do something about that. We have to do better than that. 1 in 32 Black women today will be diagnosed with HIV at some point. 1 in 32? Like, that's a lot, and that is something that should be a headline. Where are those headlines? Where is that conversation, So that's something that we definitely, if we don't do something about that, that could be the reality. And I know that we're all not about to let that be the reality. So I've had several opportunities to get to know some truly inspiring HIV-positive women. Most recently, I've had the pleasure of getting to know 5 extraordinarily beautifully gorgeous and smartly intelligent women as part of this is our thing, by the way. You can join in, because, you just fly, so you got to just. So 5 extraordinary women as part of the development of this campaign. Thank you, Kim. You started that. We are here to talk about today. So Eva, Christina, Kim, Jen, and Stephanie. And can you give them like massive love? Yes, I love y'all. I love them so much. Thank you. Yes. So talk about strength of spirit. Talk about empowerment, talk about leadership, talk about womanhood, talking about glory. These women, I mean, they're my inspiration. Y'all are just incredible, and my friends, and I'm so proud of us and us. So these beautiful women shared with me their stories of how they were not just living with HIV, but triumphing over it, and with the help of family and loved ones, and not only told stories, but they also told stories of others who were not as triumphant and of others who did not have the benefits of treatment and care or a support system. They told stories of friends and loved ones who neglected themselves or put others first, or who felt alone in the diagnosis, or who felt powerless with respect to their own protection. And 30 years after we first heard of AIDS, it's really a tragedy that anyone is still getting infected. And we know that HIV is both preventable and treatable, yet because of stigma, we don't talk about it openly, and we don't use protection, we don't get tested, we don't stay on treatment. And I really feel like that is a very old school thought, It's a very old school thought to kind of hide things and not be open and conversational about it. I think, and a lot of times, our parents teach us that. We're supposed to keep our business at home, don't put your business in the street, you know what I mean? And a lot of that is confusing because you have to reach out and you have to open up and you have to talk about it and you have to look for support somewhere. Oftentimes we even find our own families won't support us through our most difficult times, So who do you reach out to? Who do you find that you can connect to and relate with? And not to mention that there, in addition to the stigma, there's still far too many misconceptions about what we think and talk about HIV. There's so much ignorance, really. The fact that anyone would think if I give this person a hug, I might, or if I kiss this person, but it's true. We're still thinking like that. We're thinking like it's like a sneeze or something, and it's not. And so we have to make sure that we're educating ourselves and our families and our friends and our loved ones. So that's what this is all about. It's about talking about it so that we can really open up about it and really start a dialogue about it. I mean, just last year when we were all here in this room, or whatever room it was, we were in a room, and that room was a very important room. It was, and I mean, the things that even I learned or thought of or was introduced to, I mean, it really changed my whole mind. You know, it really got inside of me. It really was deep for me, and that was because of having a dialogue and an open conversation and people willing to share and talk about it. So it's definitely time that women see HIV as our issue and embrace our power to change the course of this epidemic. And that is why I'm so crazy, ridiculously fired up about introducing you to Empowered. I've had the extreme pleasure of developing this campaign in partnership with the Kaiser Family Foundation as part of the Greater Than AIDS initiative in order to reach women in the U.S. about HIV and to engage community organizations serving women on the ground. So the Empowered campaign features these 5 extraordinary women that I introduced to you. See, yes, we're so cute. In what is a beautiful start to this conversation to help change the way we think about HIV in America. Our goal is to empower women both living with HIV and allies in the fight in every way possible to lead in our everyday lives, because we all are the voice pieces to talk about this at every moment that we can. So Empowered is about being opening up our thinking about HIV, who it affects, including its impact on women, what an HIV diagnosis really means. Like, what does that mean? One, knowing the facts, speaking openly, protecting ourselves, asking to be tested. I think it's really important, our knowledge and knowing the benefits of an early diagnosis and ongoing treatment to reduce the spread. I think too few today are on treatment and benefiting for the advances of it. And the last one is really taking control of our health, which I think is another big one, you know, really like making that something that is important in our lives. And of what we as individuals can do to make a difference. We all, whether HIV positive or negative, have a role to play. We have a role to make sure that we have access to dignified treatment, very important, and to advocate for quality integrated healthcare for all, which is so much of what you touched on, which is very, very amazing and important. So we also want women to understand that in all the different roles we play in our lives, you know, as mothers and daughters and sisters and wives and partners and friends, you know, we have a tremendous power. We really do. I mean, all of us as human beings have a tremendous power. You know, we really do. We have an obligation to access and be unafraid of that limited well of power that we have to really reach out to each other, you know. And as mothers, you know, I believe we need to teach our sons to respect women as well, you know, and respect their bodies and respect their health. I am teaching my son, you know, it's important. I think about myself as a mother, and I think about a young son that I have. He's 2.5 years old, and, you know, I mean, one day he's going to be 12, and he's going to be 13 and 14, and maybe even 11 and 10, because it's getting earlier and earlier. And so, you know, he's going to have questions and he's going to have thoughts and feelings. And, you know, it's important for us to be having this dialogue. By the time I'm talking to him about it now, I want it to be something that's not awkward. It's not awkward. Sex is not awkward. AIDS is not awkward. Protecting yourself is not awkward. Condoms are not awkward. You know what I mean? It's not strange. It's life, and we got to talk about it. We got to be open and really, really just verbal. We got to be extra verbal now, because there's far too many distractions. We have to be like loudly verbal.